Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson. This is a show where we talk about truth, hope, and change in the hope of getting those three things. And most of it revolves around cannabis, so THC sort of works for that too, in case you didn't figure that out. Of course, you're watching this on Pot TV. You probably figured that out. In fact, you probably figured out that it was THC and not truth, hope, and change, so maybe that's the difference. But anyway, truth, hope, and change are important things in our world. We try to bring you as much of the truth as we can, even though, of course, we don't know most of it. And we certainly try to find some reasons for hope, because without hope, we're not doing much. And what we're hoping for is some change, and we definitely need some change. Because in the pot community here, those of us that have been involved with cannabis for almost any length of time, we need some change. And things are changing. They change all the time, in fact, although change is slow to happen with respect to actually getting what it is that we deserve as human beings when talking about the right to have cannabis, grow cannabis, sell cannabis, have anything to do with cannabis. Any restrictions or interference on that right is an abomination to nature and an absolute violation of our natural rights to be free human beings. Because after all, cannabis, this amazing plant that has been involved in a symbiotic relationship with the life on this planet for a very long time, is a marvelous thing that helps people in great ways. And any interference in a person's accessing or using or supplying cannabis, of course, would be unjustified. If it was happening in like maybe the 20s or 30s, the reason it would be happening is because one gang doesn't want you cutting the grass of that other gang or something like that. But in this world, where really by now you would think that we would have properly defined what the role of public servants is for free people in a democracy. But far from it. We may be merged close to understanding that and having that going on at some point over the course of the last 150 years or however long democracy's been operating here in Canada. But we've since deviated far from that, where the corporate influences and the corporate agendas of how to run things has infiltrated our public servants and our governance. And more laws and rules restricting our freedom, violating our rights happen all the time. And very little of it gets changed in a dramatic way for a positive thing. And what we use to chart that whole thing, of course, is cannabis and how that's all played itself out. We've now spent 100 years in Canada here prohibiting cannabis, starting back in 1923 when a Liberal minister named Bellin stood up in the legislature at Parliament Hill and announced that there was a new drug in the schedule. And without any debate at all, without any conversation, they simply wrote down cannabis indica or cannabis sativa, and cannabis has been illegal to possess, grow, and trade ever since. It's no different today, except that now the government's gotten in on the trade. The Trudeau cartel has been set up in an attempt to do a hostile takeover of the Canadian cannabis industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry right here in British Columbia alone that was extremely viable and vibrant and doing very well. And then along comes legalization. And the attempt was to completely annihilate anybody that wasn't part of the government licensing program or the cartel itself through force, through continued armed force, prohibitions, serious penalties, and the criminal law to try to force out anybody that now would continue to do what they had been doing all through the time of prohibition. So legalization comes along, and they try to sell it as legalization, but really it's just legalization for this new cartel that's moved into town, and it's still full-on prohibition for all those people that can't make it into the cartel, that don't have the amount of money or connections or aren't willing to be there. And so therefore there's a lot of money being spent, our tax dollars by the way. This is a very sophisticated and intelligent cartel going on there. They don't even use their own money. They collect money from everybody to run their protection racket. It's quite sophisticated. It's really, really wrong. And that's why we protest. That's why we continue to protest. That's why I continue to do this show. That's why, people all across the country are getting very, very excited about a 420 that would unite this country, that would unite cannabis users, that would bring us under the one banner of understanding that this legalization was not designed for us. That the very people in our community that we are all most concerned about through all of Prohibition, those people that are sick, that are disenfranchised, that are impoverished or facing barriers to be able to access cannabis and that need it desperately, they were the ones that the cannabis community in Canada were worried about. They were the ones that we protected first. And this cartel legalization does the complete opposite. It's just absolutely tragic and outrageous that the public servants, Trudeau and his bunch of gangsters, have come up with legalization where they take over the profits. They maintain the artificially high price of cannabis, which eliminates all of the people that can't afford it, eliminates the people that are needing it on a daily basis, the medical users, especially those people that are in poverty in the first place and have serious medical need and need large amounts of cannabis, usually in the form of edibles and high doses of cannabis edibles. They're left right out of this so-called legalization. In fact, all of those people is what you would have to consider medical. That's what we do. In fact, there's no real way to use cannabis that isn't medical, because really it's going to help you sleep, it's going to improve your mood, it's going to improve numerous other bodily functions, and especially if you're out of balance in some way, cannabis has a way of balancing and maintaining those different balances throughout the human body. It's going to do that, whether you're just trying to get high or not. So cannabis is medical, like it or not, but the government, in an attempt to try to avoid responsibility for what they've been doing in criminalizing people for actually trying to access something which is medicine and a needed medicine for most of the people that use it, even those people that just want to get high, those are people that need to get high. Those are people that have worked too hard. Those are people that are stressed out because of life, and they need to have some balance, and cannabis provides that in the form of a euphoria that helps you relax and reset and have a little bit of fun. So all of that stuff is medical, whether the government thinks so or not. But they, by their own definition of this so-called legalization, have left the medical patients and the daily users right out of the picture. The poor people. In our case, we're with the Cannabis Substitution Program, and we're going to get to that a little later on in the show. That's how we opened it, with the folder that we got there. And for anybody who's just tuning in and doesn't know what I'm all about, I run the Cannabis Substitution Program here in Vancouver, and we do that to try to address this public health emergency of overdose deaths caused by a tainted opioid and hard street drug supply that's been raging for the last several years. And we just try to make sure that these people have proper access to cannabis, to have it as an option for them instead of all the other street drugs that are readily available up and down the streets of this particular area of the downtown east side. And so what that is trying to fill the gap that is left by this so-called legalization, where those people that need it aren't able to access it through the government's plan. It's the same thing that dispensaries did when dispensaries opened during illegalization or during Prohibition. Fill in the gap, making sure that those Canadians that need it can get it. In the case of us with the Cannabis Substitution Program, the people that we're targeting to try to make sure that they have proper access to it are people that are involved in the use of hard drugs, people that are addicted, using street drugs because they can't access through the medical program, unable to quit doing what they're doing because of the barrier of withdrawal, and they need to have easy access to cannabis to be able to keep on living. Every day, every time that they take another hit of something bought in a flap of powder that's down here is a time where they could no longer survive. We just lost a member here this last week, Kurt Hyde, someone that was a regular attendee at our cannabis rallies and things like that. On the day after Welfare Day, his mother found him unresponsive in his apartment. Another tragic loss. Someone we didn't know was involved in these types of drugs. And that's the case so many times. Because many people who are involved in those types of drugs are ashamed of it. They hide it. It's part of the deal. And that makes it even way more dangerous, because now they're using these things alone and nobody knows. And nobody even knows they're using them in the case of Kurt and so many others. It's tragic. It needs to stop. So this gap that's been left by Trudeau's legalization of not allowing easy access to cannabis, and especially high-dose edibles, to the people here on the downtown east side and right across the country is what we're doing here with the Cannabis Substitution Program. We're doing our best to fill the gap and meet the needs, and we're trying to do it as right as we can. We're upfront about it. We've never tried to hide. We don't feel that this is criminal activity in any way, and yet here we are facing charges, and now we're going to court on that. The preliminary hearings have been set in early October, and should the Crown be successful in convincing the judge that we should be put on trial, or maybe it's us that maybe if we're successful in convincing the judge that we need to have a charter challenge and put these other people on trial, the people at Health Canada, the people at the federal government, from the Prime Minister's office down to the Justice Minister and especially the Health Minister and the special new Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, those people need to be put on trial as to why they're not supporting or at least investigating properly what it is that we've been demonstrating successfully for all of these years is actually a very proven method, probably the best that there is, in getting people off of the hard drugs, in rescuing them from addiction, and putting them on a different path where not only are their needs met with respect to the pain that they're trying to address, which is almost always the issue that people were using those drugs in the first place, but they have an overall other wholeness and well-being to themselves for using cannabis. Because cannabis, well, it's cannabinoids, right? Cannabinoids. Cannabis is the name of the plant that has all of these cannabinoids. There's other plants that have cannabinoids throughout the garden, and they're what is valuable to us in many, many ways. What cannabinoids do is they mimic the chemistry of the human body. We have an endogenous cannabinoid system that is there to oversee and maintain homeostasis and balance of all the other systems, not just in the human body, but throughout the vertebrates in nature and some non-vertebrates as well. Those cannabinoids, the resin glands, those beautiful little balls full of resin that sit atop those trichomes that are looking like a forest through a microscope on the cannabis plant especially, those resin glands of THC and CBD and CBN and CBG, and there's many, many of them, they have the exact chemical makeup of those chemicals within our human body that they had to name the endocannabinoid system. And depending on those chemicals, depending on which ones they are, if THC or CBD or whatever it is, if you need an anti-inflammatory, if you need euphoria, if you need to sleep better, if you need your appetite enhanced, if you need to deal with pain, there's a different combination of those cannabinoids designed or can be put together to be tailor-made for whatever it is that you're suffering from. This is nature's medicine. This is the plant that we survived on as food throughout all of the millennia of our history, back way before we were even human. And that's why our bodies and all the vertebrate bodies have been built using those cannabinoids to regulate and be the oil of life, if you will, and do all the things that we need there. It couldn't be more medicine. All medicine is trying to find things within the plant kingdom that are there that give us the relief and the cures that we need. And then if the present day pharmaceutical regime or the industrial complex of pharmaceutical medicines can take that compound, can isolate its active ingredients and chemistry, and then recreate it and synthesize it, then they can capitalize on it, they can own it, they can sell it, and they can make a whole ton of money on it. But really what medicine should be is finding all those plants in nature that have those sorts of things and figuring out all those chemicals and what works for what, and then sharing that with people about how to access the natural plant, not synthetics, and not own it as some big corporation that will then, make its money on people's ill health, which is a very dangerous thing to have happening. When a company makes its money because people are sick, then maybe that company isn't going out there and trying to make people sick so they can make money. Maybe they're not. But probably they're not about to promote ideas that would make people more healthy, because that wouldn't do them any good. That would be a harm to their bottom line. That would be against the monetary wishes of their stockholders and the shareholders. So that's a dangerous thing to do, is to allow a business to make its profits off of people's ill health. We should be very suspicious of a group like that. And as it turns out, we're now decades into these companies, this pharmaceutical industrial complex of synthetic medicines. And all of that has proven to be exactly true. That illnesses were created and then they would have the answer to it. Illnesses were seized upon and promoted because they had the antidote or the cure for it. And you look at what happened in the opioid crisis, where the pharmaceutical companies, having the ear and the pocketbook of the doctors, came up with a particular type of opioid that would bypass the problems of previous opioids, and it could be used for everything. So the doctors bought that the line that they were sold from the pharmaceutical companies that were promoting all of this. They decided that whatever was wrong with their patient, well, OxyContin would be a great cure for that, not addictive after all. And so they were prescribing that for headaches and minor backaches and people stubbing their toes and whatever. And of course, it's in the doctor's best interest to be prescribing this stuff as often and as much as they can, of course, back in those days, because of the way that the pharmaceutical companies designed their incentives for doctors. 4:19 by my clock. I got 1 minute. You got 1 minute. If you don't got them rolled, roll them up. And we'll take a break in a 4:20 session in just a moment. But yeah, you can't trust the pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones who've been preying on us all along to try to get us to purchase all what they got, opposed to using the medicines that we can grow in our gardens and share and buy easily and cheaply in natural medicine stores. I'm not saying the pharmaceutical companies and their strategy of making synthetic medicines can't exist. I'm not even saying it's all bad. I'm just saying that there needs to be alternatives, there needs to be options, there needs to be ways for people to access the natural medicines, the natural way, the way that we were intended to use them. And for those people that want it, we shouldn't have interference from pharmaceutical companies that are influencing our public servants and those people in places of influence to be able to perpetrate on us a system where we are trapped using their medicines for medicine. And if you ever try to use the one that's the best, that really covers almost everything, the one that people have used for millennia as medicine, well, they even got the public servants to use taxpayer money and use the criminal law against those people. So this is the things that we need to change. These are some of the truths we're trying to expose. But it's 4:20. And that means Glenn Wells is here, of course. Mr. Wells, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Are you well, Wells?
I'm well, Wells.
Oh,
yes.
well,
I'm doing
Wells.
I'm doing well, Wells. Yes.
That's good. What are you smoking today? You got something going on?
I got some Lizard and some Bubba Kush and this beautiful, smoking pack that I got for my birthday. I'll say this as many times as
You're probably going to bring that up every week. That's all right.
No,
it hasn't gotten any less shiny.
No, it's staying shiny. It's still
beautiful.
got my initials on it.
It almost got you booted out of court, though.
I know.
He didn't want to give it up at the court there, so
I totally forgot.
I tried to get through the metal detector, like, hey, what's that? He goes, well, now that you've asked, this is my beautiful container that I got for my birthday from some beautiful lady somewhere.
And what did he say to me? He said, don't open it up in court.
That's right. He said, we have new policies around weed now in court. Don't be taking it out in the courtroom.
You can't open your bag in court or anything like that. Right? What's that?
Oh, I was going to say what I'm smoking.
What are you smoking?
What am I smoking? The Candy Bar.
Oh.
Check that out. That's a great website. They got some fantastic candies on there. She's been donating to the Cannabis Substitution Program, which makes it even more special and even more reason to check them out and support them. But the Candy Bar gave me a bunch of stuff that was being put into those advent calendars at Christmas time.
Yeah.
She had some strains of cannabis left over, so she donated them to us, and I decided I would just try some because we need to test drugs here. That's kind of what we do. It's
That's kind of what we do.
Drug testing organization that we are. So I put a whole bunch of them together into one joint. So far, I approve.
You approve?
Nothing dangerous going on here.
I approve.
There was Acapulco Gold in there.
Was there? Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Where?
In that group of weed that she had in her advent calendars.
Oh, I didn't get it. You got the calendar. I got the one from Miss Medibles.
Right.
Yes, and you got one of those
I didn't
too.
share that with you.
No, you didn't. No.
I didn't even.
I know.
I didn't even open most of it until
you're
sometime in January. You know. I got through the first few, and then I don't know what happened. But
I haven't smoked any Thai stick or Acapulco Gold in such a long time, or some Blue Hawaiian. Oh,
Maui Wowie.
Maui Wowie, yeah.
Kona Gold.
Oh my God, Colombian Gold.
Colombian Gold.
Actual gold bud.
Afghan hash.
Oh God.
Cambodian weed.
Yeah.
Oh. Even the Jamaican weed didn't look very good. You know, kind of browny.
Lots
you know,
of seeds.
spindly.
Yeah.
Like, man, it could kick your ass hard.
Yeah. Maybe
Thai stick was
back
the best.
then, yes. Nowadays, I don't know if it would kick your ass as much.
I don't know anymore.
Maybe that's something that the government.
You know what?
would
It would if you took a break.
Yeah. Yes.
If you took a break,
Yeah.
it would. That's what I find. I've been forced fasting on food and cannabis for a while.
Yeah, your bud's not getting you
A little
high.
better
Take a
now.
day's break. Smoking
Try
again.
7 days.
No, you did.
I did it. I think I did almost 7 days.
Wow.
On the seventh day, I smoked some weed. I had not been well at all. I just couldn't. You know, I couldn't get out of bed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a tough 3 or 4 weeks. I'm good today.
Yeah, you look alright.
I wasn't good on Saturday, and I don't know why. But
Must
just,
be the sunshine.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, there's another thing too. There's a lot of energy going on right now.
Yeah, I know some really good stuff there.
Really good stuff going
Helping
on.
out, yeah.
I'm getting pumped about some things.
Yep.
I got a lot of responsibility to do with 420 coming up here.
Yep.
In April. That's going to be incredible. We've had incredible 420s because we had Cypress Hill at Sunset Beach.
Yep.
Prior to that, we had Sunset Beach.
Yep.
You know, and we had some of the Wu-Tang Clan, and we had good acts there, good music. But it was pretty standard. Just basically, we get a stage, we find some entertainment, we've got some speakers, we roll the music speaker till the 4 o'clock time.
Yeah.
Then we do throw out joints to the crowd. Single cannabis here in Vancouver. I don't know what you're doing over there, but you know, that was our 420.
Yeah.
You know, and then the main musicians would play after that. The sun would go down. People would wind up, close their booths,
Around
and you know
6
that
or
was the
7,
day.
yeah.
This year, we got some stuff going on.
Yes.
We're gonna have like the world's biggest hot box,
Oh, yes.
40 by 40 foot tent.
Yes.
And the biggest hot box might not be the size of the venue, although I believe it is. But it's probably the thickness of the smoke too,
Yeah.
because you're gonna hot box that thing.
And
I think you can access for some money that goes mostly to charity.
5 minutes.
Have a few deep breaths
Yeah,
and
something like that for
enjoy
5
the
minutes.
rest of the day. We're gonna have the world's largest joint,
Yep.
61 pounds.
65.
Is it 65
It's been
now?
up to 65, yeah.
Can I hear 66? We got
Yeah.
66.
Well, hey, we still got 2 months. Just less than 2 months to go. That can happen.
We don't have space. We don't have. Already we're at 35 feet.
Yeah, but it would only be bigger this way, not longer. But
Well,
65 times.
but even there,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
this is a
Yeah.
task, and these people are not amateurs, and it takes some engineering. I mean, how do you roll a 35-foot long joint and properly, you know, ignite it and let the smoke be consumed? So, I mean, should I give it all away?
Well-
Should I tell them how they're doing it?
Yeah.
So they got some plastic plumbing pipes.
Yeah.
And they've cut the bottom third off.
Yeah, so they can wrap the paper in it.
So then
like a
they've got
cradle.
Empire Papers.
Yeah.
Is providing 2 huge 40-foot long papers,
Wow.
4 feet wide.
Wow. And there would be a team.
So because they're going to do it twice. They're doing a practice run coming up somewhere, I think in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And then you know, just because like I
Is he
say,
in
these are
Calgary or
not
Calgary?
amateurs.
I think he's in Calgary. At the 403 area code. Isn't that?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure.
I'm not saying nothing
All
then.
right, I think he's in Calgary.
When I don't know for sure, I don't say nothing then. But I thought it was Saskatchewan I was talking. I'm pretty sure it is.
I can
But
check.
we're talking Dale, right?
Yeah, we're talking Dale. Yeah, I think his area code is 403.
Oh.
I do believe so. Let me look. I just called him today, right?
I did too. Had a nice chat with Dale.
Yeah, you're
Plans
in
are really coming along fine over there. Like I say, they're going to have a practice run through of making sure they can roll the joint the way they're going to do it.
403, area code 403.
I see.
I do believe it's Calgary.
Well, that's fascinating then.
So it's even closer.
There's already a bit of a Saskatchewan influence for sure here coming for 420.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day we really should have some representation from Alberta.
Yeah.
And there you go.
We got some coming from Ontario. Kelly Renee's 2 mornings.
Yeah, but speaking with people in Ontario that are involved in this as well.
Yeah.
Really, this is a Canada-wide event this year.
Yeah.
Unity in the Park. This is about trying to bring some unity to the cannabis community that's been severely fractured by this so-called fake legalization. Obviously, that was also part of their plan, was to be able to bring us apart, to make people say, well, we don't need to protest anymore, it's legal now. Well, I laid out, one of the main reasons that it's not legal for everybody. The ones that it really needs to be legal for the most, it is not legal for. It is not easy for them to access. Sure, it's legal for them to go and buy in a store with money they don't have, except they don't have ID in many cases, and they can't walk. They're stuck at home in a wheelchair or whatever. There are so many barriers that so many people face, and those are the ones that really need to be looked after by our government, isn't it? Isn't that what we have governments for? It's not to look after me, I don't think. I kind of look after myself pretty good. Don't really need the government. Happy to have some of the stuff that they provide, warnings about different things.
Yeah.
And there are good things that they do for me. But without them, I'd be fine. I'd do just very, very well. But for those vulnerable people in our society that really would not do well without the help of family, friends, a church, society in general, or how about a free democratic society with public servants that use public money raised through taxation to pay what is necessary to allow these people to have some sort of a quality of life, along with the rest of us that are just lucky enough that we don't live in those types of situations. So, it's really quite a shame that it has to be that way with the governments there. And this is why we protest. Legalization you can grow 4 plants. Some people can. Some people can't. People that are really disadvantaged really can't. People that are really sick really can't. So, they allow for a designated grower. Now, you can grow in some provinces 4 whole plants for yourself. Whoop-de-dee-doo. If you really know what you're doing, you could maximize your 4 plants. You could probably get all that you need. But who knows what they're doing to that extent? Not very many people are master growers or have the space or the ability in so many different ways. 4 lousy plants. And so, if you're lucky enough to live in a province that allows that, these public servants, then you can share some.
Yeah.
You can give 30 grams at a time away to people.
Per person.
Per person.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, my God. How many tomatoes?
Well, there is
How many tomatoes can you grow and give away?
There is no restriction on how big the plant can be.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. If you can be a master grower, you can maximize those plants.
I'm not a master grower, and I pulled almost 3 ounces off my plants last year, maybe 4.
So you get 4 ounces in a year?
Yeah. So that's about 4 months.
That's how much you use?
That's just me.
4 ounces?
I'm sure somebody could have doubled that.
So what's that, about a third of an ounce a month?
About that, yeah.
So a third of an ounce would be about,
about 10
grams in a month. So you're going to have maybe a third of a gram a day, are you? That's going to meet your needs?
Nowadays you can grow inside with a tent, so you don't have to have a period where you don't have anything.
You could have 3 or 4 crops.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
or you could have fast crops,
plug-in
or
tents,
big crops.
Right? Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to do it.
Somebody who grows outside, right? And this year I won't be able to do that because our house is being sold, so he doesn't want a bunch of pot plants growing out there in case people aren't cannabis friendly.
All of these things are mastering growing, and it's not for everybody. And in fact, the most vulnerable can't do it and wouldn't do it, and shouldn't be forced to do it. And all the rest of this is just bullshit. I found out today that if you got arthritis, there's a few things, vegetables you should not be consuming, and I think the one that they remembered was tomatoes.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either. So they don't tell you that.
Don't eat tomatoes.
They don't tell you that. That's what I want to know from my...
ketchup?
I don't know what it means. I don't think ketchup has any tomatoes in it.
Yes, it is.
By the time they process that shit, it's mostly sugar.
Probably sugar.
Sugar, fillers, and flavors.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? Unless they make their own ketchup, I don't know how much tomato. And I don't know what the active ingredient of tomatoes is, and I don't know how much it is that you need to eat before it's over that threshold. Or any of that kind of stuff. My only point is they don't put a limit on how many tomatoes you can grow or share.
No.
Or sell.
Or eat.
Or eat. or any of that kind of shit.
Or how
All of
strong
this
they
stuff
can
is
be.
nonsense with respect to cannabis. You got information that's important for us about anything cannabis? Tell me.
Yep.
Let me know.
Yep.
Put it out there.
Put it out there.
Don't force me. Don't force me. I might not believe you. Or maybe it's not right for me.
Yeah,
You know, what's right for this guy might not be right for me.
exactly.
So maybe this thing, whatever it is, this plant in the ground, everybody's allergic to it. So they make it illegal. No, I'm not allergic to it. I kind of like it.
I love
What?
it.
I gotta suffer with the illegality of this plant because most of the people, all the rest of the people, it's not good for. Stupidity is what it is. It's stupidity. It's not It's corruption. It's corruption. It's continually using every mechanism that they can to figure out how to control people so that they can make money off of us. It's all about money and energy that we provide to this big corporate machine that is taking over the world. And with the help of AI, I think that's coming a lot quicker than we would like. I don't like any of it. So we need to protest. We need to be united as a community. 420 is our biggest opportunity to do that. We built it into a massive thing by 2019. Now it's going to be even more massive. It's time to bring that back to get another sense that we don't have the venue to have the same massive size here in Vancouver.
Because we don't have a beach.
But that's okay. We have a huge park. Thornton's a big, big park. We're going to have lots of room for people. Lots of people are going to show up there. There's other things. There's a group that are coming to put up a big screen. I think it's like 16 feet by something or other, 12 or something. They're going to put it up on one of the ends of the park there. And it's going to have a split screen where you'll be able to watch people doing 420 in New York and a few other places.
Oh, that's nice.
And in Vancouver here, and they'll be able to see us here.
At 420.
At 420.
Oh, nice.
During the day there, that'll be going on.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So
this is going to be worldwide then. Or North America.
Well, it's going to be a big event as it should be. We need to really get this over the top. And mostly that day, for sure, is going to be, well, it's unity in the park, as I said, because that's important that we be united.
Unity or united?
But the real theme is everybody deserves good weed. That's it. Everybody deserves good weed. And anybody that would deny somebody good weed is an enemy of that person. You know, what the hell? So everybody deserves good weed, not just the rich people. This legalization for rich people that Trudeau's brought in there makes them a whole lot of money, and it certainly can continue to if they can continue to force people into buying there and force people out of trying to compete with them. But it eliminates all these people that can't afford those prices. Those people need good weed. So that's my theme. Is everybody deserves good weed.
Good edibles.
So stop. Good edibles.
Oh yeah. Good mushrooms.
Do you want to grab a couple of those out of that box there?
Yeah, sure.
Either one. There's two boxes there. They're
one
really
that's
colorful.
buried?
Yeah. So we had Canna Love at the art gallery there. That's where we broadcast our last show from. Canna Love was awesome. It was a really, really good event. It got pulled off despite a lot of opposition and obstacles that were in the way. And so some of the vendors got chased away early when the art gallery side that had been designated by the organizers as where they were going to have the event was being taken over by another group that was sanctioned to be there and setting up a couple days early. So resilience and creativity meant that the organizers then moved it to the other side of the art gallery where we enjoyed the sun all day. But one of the vendors that came there had a whole bunch of Valentine's cookies. Are there any hearts?
Is there any hearts? I don't know.
Box, or maybe that box, they sell all the ones. There's two of them, right? Something with hearts on it?
Not in this one. No.
Oh, really?
Where's
Try
the other
that one.
Over here?
Yeah. So there's this thing here.
Well, we have.
Okay, there's the meringues.
Nothing with
hearts. So they've got
chocolate chip cookie. You already got.
I already got a chocolate chip cookie. They're beautiful. That's my kind of. This is like a rice cake pizza with a lot of sugar and rice cake, all infused with a generous amount of cannabis there. And so
that's gluten free.
Gluten free, sugar free, both.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe I'll grab one of those.
So she wasn't able to stay that day because...
I have a friend that's gluten-free and loves edibles.
You know it online?
So, anyway, I ended up with a bunch of her products, and they're just beautiful, is all my point is. The creativity of this community is awesome. Canalove was great, the way that they managed to make it work on the other side. Other than that one vendor, and I think maybe two other vendors that went away thinking it wasn't going to happen, everybody else just found themselves a spot on the other side and really had a great day. The vibes were fantastic. Everything was great. So we need to keep doing this, and 420 is going to be like the epitome of, or the I don't know, the big day. I don't know, the king of the mountain.
Yeah. So
words escape me on a show where words are what's required. So yeah, the 420 is really something that people can get excited about.
Oh yeah.
420 at the park, at Thornton Park. There's some confusion. Originally this group was going to do it on the beach, and then they were forced off there into somewhere else, and so I can't deal with that right now.
Okay, all right.
I don't think I need to, do I? Okay, thanks. In any case, so yeah, it's Thornton Park that the 420 event is going to be at, the official 420, and it should be just fantastic.
We would like to tell you a bunch of people who are coming, but we're still waiting for the contract.
Well, Mercules is going to be there.
Yes, Mercules is
and we can do way better than that. Where is that poster that I had there? Maybe I can bring it up on my phone.
And then where are we talking about the event on the 19th also?
Well, there's an event on the 19th being held, 420 Cannabis Cup
at
the
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
And I do believe general admission is $100, and if you want a judge's kit, it's $420.
See?
So I learned that at Canalove. And then there's an after party after 420, right?
420 After Dark at Enzo's.
Enzo's, yes, and rumored.
Not rumored.
Afroman
will be there
at the after party. Yep. Remember, this is the official 420. It ain't going to happen anywhere else. This is where all the people are going to be, all the promoters.
And when we say it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah. So is it United or Unity?
Oh, it's United.
It's United. Okay.
Yeah.
You're saying Unity.
So here's our.
Well, yeah, we can't really show that yet. It's been changed. Yes. Come on now.
So Prada West, Trey Nice, Savage Banks, Mercules. There's a bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to. We're still waiting for
No, to sign them. Is it? No.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow.
We're just waiting for the final design of that poster that I showed you to be approved, and it has really. It's now just getting it in the high def format that they wanted in, and then it'll be released. Everything else is fine here. I'm going to be the host along with Ronnie Way. Ronnie Way is going to be introducing the bands because I'm sure he's way better at that than I am.
Yeah.
And I get to introduce the speakers and pretty much talk about what the theme of our show is throughout the day, which is that this legalization doesn't work for everybody. We need to have unity on this, and everybody deserves good weed. So we'll be trying to stay on that theme. We'll be talking about how the government continues to prohibit and prosecute people and persecute people and stigmatize people for cannabis. It's really not good at all still.
No.
So lots of work needs to be done, and we're here to do that work. And just to bring people in, to get them to listen to what we have to say about it. There'll be many good speakers during the day. Dana Larson's going to be there, and there'll be some other really good speakers during the day talking about all this stuff. We bring in these musical acts to bring in even more people who don't know maybe what we all think we know.
And there'll be definitely edibles that have more than 10 milligrams.
Definitely. But if you've never done edibles before, don't start with more than 10 milligrams. 10 milligrams is the right dose. Even 5. Depending if you're really nervous or whatever, but for the most part, 10 milligrams will give you a little bit of a taste, or enough of a taste. I mean, maybe that's all you'll ever need. Maybe that's the right dose for you forever. It is for some people, but not for most people. It's somewhere a little bit higher than that. For some people, it's way the hell up there. And it all depends on what you're looking for. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Edibles are great for a great night with friends of laughter and fun, and depending on how much you eat, hallucination and passing out.
I've never hallucinated on it.
I have.
I've gone to sleep. But no hallucinations.
Well, just in my sleep, I think.
You think
Yeah,
it's
not
a dream?
Yeah, in my dreams.
Okay, yeah.
And that was, I remember once at Greg Williams' house, rest in peace, my good buddy. I'm going to miss you so much coming up here for 420 now.
Yeah,
I was just straightening out the hat there that we display every week of Greg's. And, you know, I love that guy and I miss him a lot. And I really wish he was here to help with what's going on here because it's a big load.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were at his house one night. And Dory from the Medicinal Cannabis Dispensary had brought some of her famous brownies.
As good as Mary's brownies?
It was a very quiet party. As most people settled into spots on the couches. And were not heard from in any way by anybody throughout the night until somewhere's around 3 o'clock in the morning, people started to stir a little bit and then wake up, and a lot of the comments were like, "Oh my God, the colors."
That was a good one, eh?
It was a good one. Wow. And I remember my ex, Roxanne, shout out to Roxanne. She was forever in love with Dory's brownies. For years, that's all she could talk about. Does Dory have any brownies? Do we have any of Dory's brownies? Crazy. So anyway, edibles are great.
Yeah.
They're great for...
go low and go slow.
For a number of different things. They are really great for people that are in pain. There's people that go, weed isn't strong enough to help with serious pain. And they're right when it comes to just smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Basically, the smoked cannabis can distract you from pain, from moderate pain.
Yeah.
It can allow you to deal with minor to moderate pain. Severe and chronic pain is a little more than what most smoked cannabis is able to do. Concentrates have a little more power and ability to help with some of that stuff, but it's the edibles that really do have that similar level of pain relief that you can find with opioids.
More of a body high than a head high.
And more of a body pain relief,
yeah.
Than anything, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, when you're in pain, you can't sleep. If you're on a really good high dose edible, you'll be able to sleep because you forgot about the pain, and it will allow you to go to sleep. Yeah.
And sleep is so important. That's where the healing happens.
Yeah, that's it. Your body can heal a lot faster when you're asleep than when you're awake.
So that's why high-dose edibles are so important for the people with medical conditions to be able to access.
Where you'd help with the opioid withdrawals and stuff.
And that's the other side of it.
So much of it that helps out. They don't get the sweats. They don't get the body aches. They are able to sleep and eat.
Well, once again, they're able to sleep.
Yeah.
They're able to go through most of that period of withdrawal, whatever it is for that individual, be it 4 to 7 days, sometimes a little quicker, sometimes a little longer. If you have a healthy supply of high-dose cannabis edibles, you can sleep your way through most of that. We have hundreds of people with the Cannabis Substitution Program that have gotten off of those hard drugs over these years by doing just exactly that. That is the other side of why edibles are so valuable to people.
Yeah.
And why the government should not be restricting edibles to 10 milligrams, why the government should not be telling people that this stuff is not medical.
They lie. They lie. They lie.
So we're still waiting for, what time is it now? 4:45.
Yeah.
We're going to have a guest on in a few minutes here. I'll talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
I guess we'll do that through Messenger, but so I'm sure he's at the ready there watching what we're saying and all the rest of that.
Could be, yeah.
So, talking about, the need for these high-dose edibles and the lack of availability, and that we're here filling this gap to try to protect the people in society, the very vulnerable people in society, from this legalization that doesn't include them, that leaves them out in the cold wishing that they had access to high-dose edibles. So we're doing that, and of course we're before the courts on it. Crazy as that sounds, there's something really, really wrong with what's going on with our justice system. If the police think it's the right thing to do to charge individuals who have been demonstrating successfully for years that they're successfully harming no one and rescuing people from a serious addiction and getting them out of risk of death, when the police think that because of Canada's laws on these things, that they need to charge us and see what the courts have to say about it. And that's what happened here with us at the Cannabis Substitution Program. The Vancouver Police Department ran an investigation for about 6 months called Operation Blaze, and determined that yes, we were providing cannabis to people without having a license to do that. So they charged us. They didn't put us in handcuffs or put us in jail or anything like that. They took away our van for forensics, apparently, it turns out, just to check and see what was in there. At first they thought they found some hard drugs, but then realized that cannabis in its concentrated form can look a lot like some of the hard drugs. And upon testing it, of course, all we had was cannabis in there. My goodness.
It was CBD, wasn't it?
And I went on quite a rant. But we're not sure which ones they were referring to. It could have just been butter, which is a little bit off-white.
Yeah.
It could have been
like
the
crack.
diamonds.
Yeah.
But in any case, so once I went on a bit of a rant there to the staff sergeant about why you would not find hard drugs in our RV, that we live in this neighborhood, we work in this neighborhood, we see the results of those drugs. That's what we're taking our valuable time to try to solve here. We're not about to be providing them to people. So anyway, they gave me the RV back. We put up a tent, not really in defiance of the VPD, who had now arrested us and taken our vehicle, but out of the ultimate need and responsibility that we feel to be able to provide what we've been doing for years here. That I have an ethical responsibility to continue to supply those who've been relying on us for all of this time. So when they took the vehicle and arrested us, we set up the rally tent, tables and all the rest of it, and just like we would at a protest rally, we provided our services like that until they gave me the RV back.
Yeah.
They drove by and talked to us in the tent. They came up to the tent and suggested we move it a little bit this way if we didn't want to get all of our stuff stolen by them again. They said to me on numerous occasions, several occasions, that I should keep doing what I'm doing, that they appreciate what we're doing here, those VPD officers that are in this neighborhood. So, we'll let the courts decide.
Yep. That's all we can do.
And that's what it seems that they're doing.
That's how we have to change things. And it seems
since they gave me the RV back, other than the couple of weeks after the firebombing, by we don't know who or why, but we were back under the tent again in November for a couple of weeks until we decided, well, we're not going to stop because there's been no second threat to us, which would have probably stopped us if somebody had came along and said, hey, didn't you get the message Buddy was trying to send you there or something? I would have, we couldn't continue. I couldn't continue to put people at risk like that. But there was none of that. There was only people coming from the neighborhood with weird innuendo and rumors that meant nothing, and mostly saying thank you so much for still being here.
Yeah.
And so needing to continue on, we got another RV, and here we are. It's since last May that the VPD raided us, and now we're still, same spot, one block from the police station, same signs, same business going on here, with no more interference from the VPD. They're going to leave it up to the courts to determine. Well, in the courts, we've had 15 appearances.
Yep.
15 appearances.
And now you go back in October.
And this last one finally resulted in a date being set for actually talking about it. So on October 2nd, we're going to be back in court here, and we're going to have a voir dire.
Yeah.
I may or may not be saying that correctly. I've
Do you
never
believe
been
it
able
was
to
the
see.
3rd and to the 5th?
From the 3rd to the 5th.
I do believe so.
Is it the 3rd, not the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay,
I want me to
you're
check.
probably right.
I can check.
Yeah, we want to tell the truth as always, eh?
We do. We don't want people to show up and support you.
And we'll be really clear on that date,
and be there, right?
and we will, encourage people to come out and support what's going on with us in court there. It's from the 3rd to the 5th in October. If they're successful in convincing a judge to go ahead, then the actual charter challenge will begin on the 15th of November till the 17th, and then again commence on the 20th till the 23rd.
9 a.m. for room
20,
304.
20, 21, 22, 23. So that's 4
3
days.
Yeah, you got 3 days.
7 days in November, 3 days in October.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
No. 5 days in November. 15,
16, 17 is
and then
3.
7. Oh, yes, because you got 20.
See, this time I'm right.
21, 20. Yeah. All right, okay. You got it. All right. 7 days a week.
3 days in October to determine if we should do 7 more days in November. And we'll see what happens. But it's been an incredible run of over 6 years now of running the Cannabis Substitution Program. We are extremely proud of ourselves, myself and my colleagues that have all joined together to make this work, the donators, the volunteers, the bakers, you know, the companies that have
years and years of people helping. Yes.
Oh my goodness! And Canadian Lumber just recently sent me more papers, which are so valuable to us here.
Because we roll joints.
We sell them for $1 a package to the people in the neighborhood, which is important to them. And all that money, every penny of it, is just CSP money. And then we use the rest of it for rolling the joints that we roll for the people. We give out probably close to 100 free joints here every day.
Yeah.
Certainly 50, but more than that.
And edible.
And an edible as well. We have muffins and cookies. We have seed cookies from Michael the Cookie Monster. We have John Murray's chocolate chip cookies and muffins.
Yep.
And so everybody that can't afford anything gets those for free every day. They can come and get a joint and a cookie or a muffin for free. So, you know, it's all these people that have made this work throughout all this time. And as I said, we're all very proud of ourselves. I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of all these people. And I'm very ashamed of a government that can't figure that out. They had an investigation for 6 months. Were they so narrow-minded that they weren't interested in whether or not we were actually helping people? Were they simply focused on making sure that they could prove that there was an exchange of product for monetary gain? I mean, it's just insane. Because if they'd have talked to the people and asked them about, you know, whether they were happy that we were here, whether anybody had been hurt in any way, if they could have found a victim of some sort, you know, but not at all.
No.
So if they'd have talked to me, we all watch this on TV, right?
Yeah.
When they launch an investigation into something that they think happened, they bring in the main suspect.
Sometimes.
They always talk.
Afterwards.
They always talk to
them.
them.
Enough proof, right?
Well, not necessarily. No. They go and they talk to the people that right away. They try to determine who the suspects are.
Yeah.
They talk to anybody involved and get to know all of that. When they know who the suspects are, they bring them in and they question them, and then they determine by contradictory testimony, and they try to trick people into saying shit and all the rest of that.
Stuff,
but no. They always, during the investigation, before the charges are laid, they talk to the main suspects.
Maybe that's just Hollywood.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Because they don't do that here. Because they don't
in
want
real
to
life,
they don't want to tip you
in
off.
real life,
Yeah.
they don't let you know nothing.
Nope.
They don't bring you in and talk to you.
Nope.
They don't ask you where you were on the night of the 3rd. They don't ask you anything you don't know.
Nope.
All of a sudden, you're under arrest. They've been investigating your ass, and they spent a whole lot of tax dollars to try to investigate your ass, and all they had to do was ask you.
Yeah.
You know?
All you're doing is saving lives. You're not killing anybody.
I wouldn't have lied to them in any way, shape, or form. I've never tried to lie to these authorities about what we're doing here.
Anyways,
you know?
I should go get our person on because it's 5 to 5, and I better set that up.
We got to do this. We should bring Pat on.
Yeah,
do you need to do your thing first?
I'm going to go do that right now.
You're going to bring Pat on or do your thing?
I can do that right here.
All right. Pat Warnicki, he's been a trooper and a soldier in this war to provide access to people against a corrupt corporate, federal government that, is acting on behalf of these corporations to prevent proper medical access to people. Pat owned a store in Saskatchewan and was raided there. He's recently gone through a charter challenge against what happened there. One that was won handily himself, Mr. Martin, Mr. Seaman, the other dispensary owners who were brought before the courts and tried to justify their behaviors, and the courts ruled that these restrictions against people having access through storefronts is unconstitutional. To have arbitrary limits on what kind of potency that can be involved in what people are accessing is unconstitutional. It's against our rights, our charter rights. So a real groundbreaking case that follows on the heels of the Howe case in Alberta, Queen's Bench of Alberta. Similar rulings, many good rulings about the need for the ability for people to access cannabis without barriers, like low barrier access to cannabis is what we're talking about here. And you know, Pat has been one of the people at the forefront of trying to provide that for people and make sure that he fills the gap of the needs of his community. And he's nice enough to have taken some time out today to fill us in a little bit about what's going on with him and what this means with respect to the judgment and where it goes from there. So Pat, I understand you're there?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Oh, he is, but he can't.
Hold on a minute. I thought I turned him up. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I turned it. No, I did turn him up. Hold on a minute.
Is he talking and we can't hear him?
Yeah, weird. Oh, okay. On. All right. Here we go. All right. Try it now, Pat. No, I can't hear him.
Uh-oh. Oh, I heard that.
You heard what?
I heard him say something, but it was low.
Yeah, I don't know.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, like,
in a moment.
Yeah, he can hear you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
but we can't hear him now.
And then the people out in the
Let me try another device.
audience.
Let me try this. All right. I don't know what's going on here today. Oh, there.
Oh, what was that?
I don't know.
Who touched what?
I don't know. Maybe it's just a lousy signal. Let me try calling you back. Okay.
All right, we'll try calling him back and see if that was ding, ding. Oh,
Oh,
what?
see, it is. It's a signal. It's a signal. So there is.
Is there?
Oh yeah, there you go.
There
yeah,
you
we
are.
got you now.
Hi, Pat.
All right, how you guys doing?
There we go.
Doing well. How
Good.
you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
That's cool. Yeah, did you hear the introduction at all?
I did, yes, thank you. Yes, we have exciting week coming up next week. We have our I guess, first court appearance since before Christmas to go over our remedies and our suggestions for remedies, which is kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's amazing, you know, instead of asking us questions and being open and forthwith with all of us to talk about things and our programs and what's going on. You know, here we are, now they're asking us for remedies. We're 5 years down the road. You know, some lives have been lost to addiction, and now we're finally at the table. We wrote them letters and asked them to come to the table and bring us to the table and start talking about these things. You know, as early as 2013, and you know, 10 years later, here we are. So, but yeah, we have our decision. Our remedies are in next week that we'll be discussing, and I'm sure there'll be another court date after that. And as it stands right now, the prior decision in November, we're hoping looks like it covers most of THC related charges as far as my personal situation. And but they still have I have a bunch of CBD charges of all things hanging over my head, which are what I have to deal with now.
I see.
But yeah, that's where we're at.
Crazy times still, eh? So there's still going to be a trial sometime later on about all of these things, is what you're saying, and you're not sure when that is, I guess.
Well, we don't know. So I guess we don't know. We're sending our recommendations, our remedies, and what we think should happen. You know, obviously one of the things is to kick this down the road and not keep on going this way. The judge made a pretty clear decision, and for them to keep on pressing me for CBD charges and things like that when nobody ever gets charged with that, and I have like 5 or 6 CBD charges, it just looks like it was obviously targeted and you know, abuse of authority. As you know, at the time there was pet stores and even Walmart was carrying CBD at that point in time in 2018 when this all happened. So we're hoping that with the remedies that the Crown will decide to go away with that, and we'll start getting on with what these decisions really mean in the end. So we'll see what happens. I can't say obviously too much about my particular case, because I'm still under the gag order and the publications ban for exactly what I can and can't talk about. But a couple things I can't talk about. But anyways, we're hoping that that either we're going to have an idea after next Wednesday what's going on, if we're if we're going to continue on with the other charges and continue on with the process, and if we have to challenge that in the charter as well. But I think it's pretty clear. The judge said that patients need access and have rights to these edibles in general. There should be no arbitrary number behind milligram amounts and things like that for what people need for their specific personal situation.
Right on.
I believe that's obviously going to, from what the judge was saying too. We need some clarification about her definition of what she was talking about for a dispensary or an LP. But other than that, it looks like obviously patients have the rights, which is step number one. So hopefully that can, obviously we're building on what's happened from Owen Smith and Allard and all these other guys that came before us, and hopefully Chris can get somewhere with his case at least there, and hopefully you guys in the fall too. I mean, obviously you guys had a good lawyer who was involved with our case too. There was stuff and has some good witnesses and extra testimonies after our case for something to build on there too. So with what I'm sure you're going to add on top of there, I'm very
you're hopeful
that you're going to get somewhere.
And you're hopeful that you're going to win this. And if you do, are you wanting to reopen a store again? Is that your hope?
Yeah, we're actually in the works of it right now. We're dealing with it right now. We're opening a store between PA and Saskatoon. Some CP land out there. We have Best Buds. But we'll be looking for more things, more locations that are still safe, that we're not going to be knowing that we're going to get, obviously raided and shut down right away again. Honestly, Saskatchewan's very conservative, and there was quite an intent to shut down all the dispensaries there in 2018, and we have to play it safe, and we're going to go through the regular avenues again. Depending on what happens with the court decision, we're going to write the provinces again, and the MPs or MLAs, I'm sorry, MPs as well. And we're going to write the city and do all the things, to say here's who we are again, here's what we're doing again. Hopefully we can have a conversation this time.
And you've done quite a bit of work with the Indigenous communities right across Canada. Have you had much in the way of success with that?
Yeah, we've since from the original closing of our shop, not too long after that, we worked on a few different programs, some for just harm reduction programs, as well as opening up from production as well as retail locations in cannabis for communities from Saskatchewan to New Brunswick. We're working on one right now in Alberta and one in BC right now, but officially just from Saskatchewan out to the East Coast. That we've actually opened with 16 communities that we've worked with so far, and I think some of these communities really have a good step, a good lead on the government. I think with the programs and what they're running for programs, quality assurance, and availability for products to patients. So there's some that need to step up their game, obviously, that need to happen. But I think overall there's a lot of stores doing some good things there, and hopefully they can keep on building upon that. I know the governments in BC, Saskatchewan, not really Alberta right now, but Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and BC for sure, the provincial governments are trying to basically assert their will over top of First Nations. And obviously the provinces are not above First Nations as far as the political structure or anything else. So there's kind of a game going on there, if you will, between a couple provinces.
And there's still a bit of a divide between the First Nations communities in some cases, with some wanting to work with government and others just wanting to be able to do it on their own as well, right?
Absolutely correct. There's some that are trying to go into, the government programs, follow the government programs, follow the LPs and all the rest. And there's some that are making sovereignty plays and trying to establish better programs what the government has and do things like what you're talking about, have proper people, staff, as well as products available for patients, and have a patient base, which obviously contradicts the recreational focus and base of the provinces.
Right.
In BC right now, they're actually paying First Nations communities $250,000 to come on board and come onto the legal side, LPs, versus do sovereign plays.
Sounds like a bribe to me.
Well, that's exactly what it sounds like, for sure.
Yeah.
They're seeing that they'll help them open their stores, and they're.
Wonder where they got that money. Wonder where they got that money to bribe these people.
That's what they're taxing everybody for, all the cannabis. All your cannabis taxes on one side,
Yeah.
back out, managed through, the province and right back into their hands, right? So.
Well, and here in British Columbia, they're also asking, the LPs and the licensed people, many of them are asking that there be a clampdown on these First Nations groups in particular that are selling outside of the system.
Yeah, 100%. That was the first approach, and I think that it didn't go that well. So I think this was the next approach, was to bribe after.
Just to bribe them, yeah.
We'll let you open your stores. And don't get me wrong, some of the programs are actually pretty good. Like as far as if you were in a community, like let's not view it out of our shoes, but if you're in an actual community and you can get it paid for to start up, and at the same time, some of the communities have been asking for allocations and allowances to do certain things, like have artwork at your store, to sell local artwork and things like that, or to they're working on current farm gate applications where they can sell their own product right out of their store, which they'll obviously try to brand. So I'm just saying, as far as their approach, it's a lot more appetizing now. Before it was like when they tried to put their foot down and force them, it wasn't working so good and it didn't look so good.
Right.
But now with the bribe, it looks a lot more appetizing, and I'm just being, looking at it from a different angle than obviously myself looks at it. But if I was in their shoes, that it looks appetizing.
The discrimination against cannabis businesses inside or outside the system is still just unjustified, and it's outrageous. You can buy. There's another smoking product out there, the people have been able to access legally for quite a while. It's available all over the place. It's available in grocery stores and gas stations, and they've learned over the years that stuff causes most of the hospitalizations in Canada. It kills several million people around the globe every 12 months. But that stuff is still available, wrapped up in nice glossy plastic, and it's got some warnings on the packages. But it's absolutely outrageous how the restrictions against selling cannabis compare with respect to the restrictions to sell that stuff. You have to have your own special store and all the rest of this stuff. It's time for the emperor to realize that he's naked as fuck. Sorry, Annie Barbie. And get the hell out of the way. Let the marketplace determine these things, and only regulate where regulation is justified. That's what we're proving here, yourself, and what we're doing, and these other ones that are trying to get some sort of reasonable ability to distribute cannabis to the people that need it in a commercial way that would make as much sense as any other commercial ventures. It's just a commodity that people can produce, and people want it, so they should have a place they can go and buy it without much in the way of government interference at all, unless there's problems. Like, for sure, okay, let's have standardized dosages and label the edibles what dosage they are. I'm fine with that regulation there. But as far as cannabis dried flower goes, that sort of stuff should be able to be packaged and sold without any more restriction than certainly that other smoking product, but as pretty much any other commodity that a person would want to go and purchase anywhere. All of this makes no sense. It's cost us a huge amount of money, and it's really, really interfered with the lives of people like yourself and all of your clients that have been relying on you and have been left in the lurch while all of this goes on, while you try to talk some sense into government and get some reasonable respect as a business person. All the patients and clients that you've been helping prior to that have been left waiting all this time, and I'm sure many of them have died or had serious health consequences as a result. Sorry to ramble on there, but
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, we had the very first few days when, we had 12,000 patients through the stores, and when the first few days of the raids started happening after the second day of raids, we had people phoning in distress, great distress, about their loved ones, about their mother, or about themselves, and we had overdoses happening overnight, and we started losing people right away. It was crazy, and like you said, it's absolute hypocrisy, and to treat alcohol and tobacco that kills so many people and causes so many people to do so many things that are very regretful and cause further problems. They allow these substances to be in society, and allow even for banking or for the business and paying taxes and the banking of these businesses that do this. However, if you try for cannabis, even now, even with a legal LP license, apparently, they won't let you do any banking. And as far as for us, they came after us to really go after our whole family, and they did things to even my family members that had nothing to do with our dispensary. Kind of like what they did to the trucker convoy last year. Did that to us and our family and the rest of the dispensary and cannabis people in Saskatchewan. From what I can see, there was at least 20 of us that had this happen to us, where they absolutely they listed us on FinTrack, and they basically debanked us, where we couldn't do anything anywhere, couldn't pay bills, couldn't get an account, couldn't do anything. And it even included some of our family members who had nothing to do with the dispensaries itself. So that's how hard they came after us. And, and the ability for the government to do that and really interfere with business. And the crazy part is I was paying taxes and remittances the whole time. So, I mean, it really helped out with our court case, obviously.
Right.
But, I mean, we were operating like a legit business, and to actually do that to us. In fact, the banks actually thought we were doing legit. Like, we had a good relationship going on with our bank at the time. And then all of a sudden, some very shady things happened. And we'll get to that at a later date, but some very shady things happened. And all of a sudden, everybody got debanked in a matter of about 5 days. And, mortgages were getting closed on people's and family members' houses and all kinds of wacky things. And this is 4 months before or so before we even got charged for or any of the raids happened on the dispensaries.
I see Trudeau has now apologized for his attack on freedom with respect to the truckers thing there. They found that he was justified in using the act, but that it was all their fault that they had to do it in the first place, and that's 100% the truth. If he'd have just come out and met the people and addressed their concerns, I mean, they wouldn't have occupied the city and honked their horns and hoped that he would come out like that. It was really negligence on his part that created that whole scene, and then he used that to justify attacking freedom and attacking the people that were there. And at least he's now come out and said he was sorry about that part of it. But
The narcissistic peddling, gaslighting that our government's been doing to people in our industry in cannabis, to people fighting for their right to bodily autonomy, and it's crazy. And if not only if he wouldn't address those people, but if he wouldn't have called people names and tried to split people by splitting society and calling people names and pitting people on something, it wouldn't have been as bad. People might have went home, and the police had the tools to deal with it. There was no, we know the whole story. It happened to us with cannabis, obviously, the whole industry. Not all of us got shut out of the industry, and they did the same thing to us, trying to discredit everybody and everything that there was to do with the movement before. They used all kinds of different rules, regulations to keep us out of the industry, and playing some kind of crony capitalist game where they control the rule books and the system, right? So
well, here too, we can't get a bank account. The CSP can't get a bank account. The Serious Hope Society can't get a bank account. The Healing Wave can't get a bank account. And numerous other things as well that they just are not supporting us. Obviously, they're acting against the other way, where really any logical person, I mean, I can't imagine anybody that would have a look at this and wouldn't recognize that we need to be supported by government in what we're doing here. We've more than proven our point over and over and over again, and yet we're still facing a barrage of attacks, especially in the form of taxpayer dollars being used against us by the VPD in their investigation, now by the federal crown, and putting together, reams of papers that don't really, there's nothing in there in any one of them about any victim anywhere, but it's all taxpayer dollars used to generate all those words in an effort to try to shut me down from just helping people and doing what needs to be done by government when they finally realize it. Any logical person would see that in a heartbeat, but yet here we are. I hope the judge is a logical person.
The judges, I think, are showing that they're logical. It's showing the system that the government put in place is very crony, and from the top down is corrupt, and it's showing itself. And and the fact of them not wanting to go by way of Health Canada with it, and the fact that even more so, like even further, that these college of physicians have been writing doctors, excuse me, and telling them not to prescribe cannabis. And I've actually seen one myself, because I was good friends with one of the doctors in Saskatchewan that really supported us. It was really good. And he showed me the letter, and I saw the letter for myself.
Wow.
That was a 2019 letter. And I know that he said other doctors got it, and I have been told by other doctors, but I didn't see their letters, and I've been told. And I've been told by multiple people in multiple provinces now that they've all been saying the same thing. So that's the next thing that needs to happen is, we need to get a class action lawsuit together and go across the board and really get some open books to find out if this really happened. And if this really did happen, if the college of physicians across the board we're writing doctors and telling them they cannot prescribe cannabis. Well, under whose direction was that from and why?
Yeah.
And
certainly we know that they were instructed to not prescribe over certain amounts, like very small amounts, for daily grows and for other things as well. There's been definitely a campaign, against cannabis as medicine and the medical users of cannabis that can be well documented. And I'm 100% with you on that. This is reason for torts against the government, both in the form of class actions and also individuals who have had serious damages caused against them because of these policies that are rooted in corruption and not justified by anything that they'd be able to support in court.
100%. I think that's honestly, I mean, other than what you got going on right now, that's the next fight is, as a community, we need to come together and be able to put that together. Because, I mean, we know it's there, and from what I've seen and from what I've been told, it's there. And there's obviously some serious charter violations within that that need to be addressed. And that core of that, if we can overturn that, we get some headway on that. I think you'd see a lot more medical dispensaries or a program having to be addressed by the government by court mandate at that point.
So I guess the next obvious question is, what are you doing for 420?
Come to see you guys, man.
Are you?
We're gonna.
Do you want to have a few words with the crowd that's there?
I'd love to. That'd be awesome.
I'll pencil you in. We'll talk more about that later.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, this year we're gonna come. We had some problems with China with our downstairs, so we're still waiting on it.
So tell my audience a little bit about the Dabster.
Oh yeah, so the Dabster, we have it works with an app, Dabster.app. It's a little thermometer that goes underneath your banger for having dabs, and it tells you the temperature on the app. It goes in Celsius, Fahrenheit, has a nice little gauge on it. You can customize all the settings on it, and you can have a proper temp dab all the time. But the problem was we made our first orders were coming in, and our Chinese manufacturer put a different sensor in it than what we originally had for our testing units. So we had to send them all back, and they have to replace them all, and they're sending them all back here again. So
the obvious question is, will you have them for 420?
No, or else I would have had a booth. We were thinking about it, and we were really contemplating it, but we need to have them here in our hands before we can do that again. And but yeah, we actually just figured out the problem about a month ago. What it was, we were trying to figure we're like, what the heck's going on here? And we were trying to figure it out, and then we finally figured out what the heck the problem was. So we just sent them back, so they're probably not even all going to be manufactured by then, let alone sent back here. So China's in a mess right now as far as manufacturing, so it's just a big, the world's in a bit of a mess right now, but especially China. Yeah. I see.
Oh, that's too bad. Anything else before I let you go?
No, I appreciate all you're doing, and I wish you guys the best. Obviously, with your court case, I think you guys can knock it out of the park, and to everybody that's supporting you there, please keep on supporting and showing up. That means so much to you guys that went through court battles, and man, I wish you all the best. We'll get in touch soon here.
Very good. Thank you so much for taking the time, Pat.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Peace. Yeah, so we are really hoping that we can knock it out of the park in our court case coming up in October. Part of that can be, that you might be able to contribute to, because we are looking for affidavits, testimonials, people that can provide evidence that would help us in proving to the courts that what we're doing here is of great value. And so if cannabis has been of great value to you, if you've used it to kick addiction and those types of things, if it's been crucial in your life to have low barrier access to cannabis, you might want to get a hold of me and let me know, and maybe there's a letter you could write, or maybe we could even have you up on the stand, depending on what my lawyer decides about what we need with people giving witness and stuff. So that's coming up. We've got, I think, a little under 9 months to be able to put all that stuff. Well, we have to put it together, of course, quicker than that, but within about 9 months in October, we're going to be, having a little bit of a run-through, a preliminary hearing, and I'm not sure which way it should go or how I would like to see it go. I'm so upset that they've wasted so much tax dollars on this, what they're doing. I mean, they should have been giving us a grant here so that we can provide more edibles for people. We've had to cap what we can do because we're operating out of an RV. We have limited space and capacity. We're already providing a large amount, and it's hard to keep up with that. So, we're just waiting for a government that should be supporting us in that. And if they've got all this money to spend on trying to figure out whether or not, we're criminals or not, well, I'm very, very upset that this is taking all of those tax dollars that it is. A several-month investigation by the VPD is not cheap. For the Crown to put together a package of disclosure with page after page after page, is very, very expensive. We've had 15 court appearances to date, and it looks like there's another maybe 10 days coming up in late fall. This is a horrendous expenditure. But at this point, I'm not sure I want the charges withdrawn. I don't think I want them just to walk away. I'm not going to be happy if they decide that the Jordan rule of taking too long before you get your case heard is just going to let them walk away from this. I think that we need to launch this charter challenge. We need to have these days in court now, and we need to explain both the value of cannabis in what we're doing with helping people through addiction, but for all of its medical uses and just the injustice of using taxpayer money and telling lies to protect industry from this amazing plant, which could be used at a much cheaper rate, which could benefit our society as a whole and so many individuals within it, that the government needs to be exposed for their efforts to try to stifle this plant, to protect industry, and to protect, I guess, also their reputation, having spent now 100 years of our money. That's a lot of money, 100 years. And trying to prevent access to cannabis, only to, at this point in the game, have given up, lost, provided cannabis to anybody that wants it through their stores at least. You can even grow some of your own in most of the provinces. You can have cannabis on you. You can smoke cannabis. You can use it in parties and infuse it in food and all of these different things that you can do now with this demonized substance that was blamed on violence and laziness and all these other things, all just in an effort to keep it out of the industrial environment, to keep it out of the medical environment, to keep people from being able to use it because those corporate entities that we're facing off against in this battle for our rights and freedoms and access to cannabis, that they want to be able to make money off of and they want to be able to control. And they've put a lot of time, effort, and money into trying to make sure that one of their biggest competitors, this plant that can be grown so easily and used for so much, to so much good, is not the competition that it would be if our society was free to use it as it should. And co-opting our governments over these years, using them to run their protection racket with taxpayer dollars at our expense, ruining lives in the process. This is what we've been facing for all of these decades, all of my life. And this is what we're still up against as the prohibition machine marches on, trying to make sure that the only weed you can access commercially is coming through the government cartel, through people that have had to pay huge licensing fees to be part of the game. And the money be used against the other people who just want to help pay their rent like they always have been with cannabis, with nary a victim anywhere to be seen, and people that would stand up for almost every grower and every seller of cannabis and say, that person just helped me get what I really needed in my life, and they're not criminal because they didn't intend to hurt me and they didn't hurt me. This has been wrong for so bloody long. Now we've got Aurora Cannabis, legal cannabis, recording its second quarter loss, net loss of $67 million. If that doesn't tell you that there's something wrong with the government cartel, I don't know what does. Of course, as we've been pointing out before, the actual people at the top of this scheme, they don't lose the $67 million. The government that got taxes on all of that stuff all the way through and fees and all the rest of it, they're not giving any of that up. They're not losing any money. $67 million lost by the shareholders, the people that put their money in, believing all the hype that we can do this, folks. We can run a successful protection racket. We can keep the prices artificially high, and it'll be the taxpayers that pay to make sure that nobody competes with us. They bought into that bill of goods, or maybe they didn't quite realize what they were doing, and they bought shares in these legal companies Why? Because they think it's okay to sell weed at $10 a gram? $20 a gram? Maximize it by making concentrates, maximize it by putting 0.3% in some juices and cans of drinks and stuff. Make money on cannabis. Well, I hope that never really comes any more true than it already has. And there are people making a lot of money, believe me. Just because Aurora loses net $67 million in 1 quarter of the year, 3 months, like I said, they're fleecing their shareholders. The people on top got the money, spent the money, enjoyed the money, and they're not losing any money. Meanwhile, government complicit in all of it, all the way through, making them all pay taxes at every stage of the game on all this different stuff. And then, oh, well, now we got to just sell off all the equipment cheap. We got to just write stuff off because we lost all this money and all the rest of it. This is a big scam. If you don't know it, you should know it. I hope it all unravels, maybe before the courts, probably especially before the courts, because these people really are criminals. They deserve to be taken to task for what they're doing here. There is no need for government interference in the cannabis marketplace. Let the marketplace decide. If there's problems that arise, reasonable regulations are what is required. After all, we're the ones paying them. So we get to pay them, and then they get to decide what they do for us. And then what they do for us ain't really doing for us. It's doing for other people. And this is the system that we're okay with. I'm not okay with this system. The system needs to be changed. We need to revisit democracy. We need limited, accountable, transparent public servants that recognize their job, their main function is to protect the individual freedoms of all of us sovereign Canadian citizens, and that is done by making sure that the corporate agenda is not acted upon us in ways that prohibit and limit, coerce, and make us purchase and consume and produce for this corporate machine that has taken it all over and is going to continue to do so if we don't revisit what this is all supposed to be about. It isn't supposed to be about public servants telling you what you can and cannot put into your body, which plants you can and cannot have, using tax dollars to run protection rackets for corporate interests and government interests while people suffer and suffer and suffer. We need to change the system. Speaking of the marketplace deciding, I wonder if the marketplace had anything to do with Amsterdam deciding that they're not going to allow any cannabis consumption in the red light districts. So you can go ahead and have some fun with the local hookers, but you can't be smoking weed while you're doing it. I'm not sure where that comes from or where people are smoking weed and then causing problems with these poor girls trying to make a living. I don't know. But Amsterdam has banned smoking weed in the red light district. I don't know what to think of that. Anyway, there's another event coming up pretty quick here. It's within a month. We just had Can of Love on February 14th, and there was a whole big Can of Love that was opened up on that day. I really felt the vibes. The music was great. The people were great. The vendors were great. Everything was great. And we're going to do it again, because why not? I mean, I'm pessimistic. I didn't think you should have an event in February, and damn it, it was cold there. But thank goodness Mother Nature provided sunshine, and the universe kicked us out of the front where we wouldn't have got that sunshine. And so it was a good enough day. It was a little bit cold, especially once the sun went down. It got pretty cold, but still pulled off. I'm not sure how many years in a row we could have events there where without getting events that are rained out or whatever. But we'll see. For now, we've had a Can of Love Day on February 14th, and I'm probably going to imagine they'll do it again next year. And so why not have an event on St. Patrick's Day? Sounds like a good excuse to have another protest and another love in for cannabis. Looking for the lucky 4-leaf clovers out there in the Thornton Park grass. I'm sure we'll all be doing that. Maybe somebody will find one. I don't know. What are they, 1 in a million or something like that?
What's the name of it? St. Cannabis Day?
Yeah, maybe. Eh?
St. Cannabis
probably
Day.
Should be. I don't know if it's been named. There is a poster out already. If you're in Vancouver, there are booths available. I'm not sure what the deal is. Probably by donation, and starting at a $0. You can donate $0 or beyond if you want to get a booth set aside for you there. The organizers always need some money to make things work. I know when it gets tight, they get a little bit nervous. So support your local organizer of these events. They're good for everybody. They provide a real nice farmers market for people and an opportunity for us to once again address the issues, as we must continue to do. Until the government changes their policies in ways that reflect the actual needs and the rights of us people, we need to continue to find ways to speak about it, to talk about it, to keep it in the media forefront, to keep it in the minds of our community, that this is the battle we're still in. We still need everybody to do what they can, and let's not think it's all over and we won. That's just what they want us to think. It's kind of all over and they won in kind of a weird way, but the weird way is that they control the marketplace, and they're you know the rest of it. I've been going on about it too long. So that kind of brings us to what we do every week here, in that this is really a show that's been revolving around the pursuit of a low barrier access community cannabis store. That pursuit took on the form of providing high-dose edibles and cannabis to people on the downtown east side that were unable to access it, and that started out over 6 years ago. 6 years ago, in a response to the opioid crisis, we started handing out high-dose edibles provided by donators from dispensaries to bakers and other people that just wanted to help, and we successfully got a whole bunch of people to get off the other drugs. And so for week after week and month after month, the stories that we were getting from the people that were lining up every week to get what we were given got better and better. More and more of them would tell us that they're no longer using the other substances. So many of them so appreciative of what we're doing there, and on it went. Prior to doing this, tried to do everything right and get governments on board. I formed a collaboration with Van Du, where we would use their space and they would give us their official support in providing these things. Went to City Council and at least informed them of what the real safe supply was, which was high-dose edibles, and hoped that they would give us support. They did eventually, but it took them 2.5 years. We told the police department, we put up signs, we went on the media, we did everything that we could to not hide, to try to let everybody know that this is what we feel is a viable solution, and we're going to try to do this with with everybody on board. So there were no licenses to apply for when we started this 6 years ago. We just continued on doing it that way for 2.5 years before City Council finally passed a motion that they would support what we were doing. And at that time, it turned out that there were licenses to apply for. That the City of Vancouver was reluctant to provide us with a license to be able to provide cannabis outside of the cartel without getting the cartel's permission. So, that being the case, we put together an application that covered all the bases, that explained what it was that we were doing, that included doctors' notes to support, or letters of support. Professor Zachary Walsh was a supporter that wrote a letter, very profound letter. Numerous other people, all the different harm reduction groups. As I said, City Council was on board. They passed a motion unanimously to support us. And so then, needing to put in that application and getting it approved, we did exactly that, along with an application for a temporary emergency exemption from the Cannabis Act and the penalties that could follow, the risk that we were under in doing what we were doing. And that's what we presented to both Patty Haydu of the Federal Health Ministry and to Mr. Benoit Seguin, the person in charge of special licensing and exemptions for Health Canada. They acknowledged the receipt of both of those applications the day following. They said that they would try to process those things in a timely manner, and then we didn't hear from them for quite a while. After 3 months, they requested a Zoom meeting with myself and our lawyer at the time, and at that meeting immediately apologized for having taken so long. Later in the meeting, suggested that it was complicated to put together licenses that we were asking for, which was for us and our staff and our suppliers, and to sell low barrier cannabis and to sell high dose edibles. But that complication should probably be taken care of by early January, they said. That's now 2 years ago. And so we waited and we waited. We had correspondence back and forth with Health Canada during that time, sending them the latest scientific studies that backed up what we were doing here. The response was typically something like, well, thank you, Mr. Magnuson, for your submissions. Rest assured that our team is working diligently on your file every day since we got it. Not sure how much that's cost taxpayers all in itself to have a team of people working diligently every day for Health Canada, trying to figure out the complicated thing of providing low barrier access to cannabis. When in reality, we're doing it and have been doing it, and now have been doing it for 6 years. So difficult for me to understand what it is that they think is so complicated about doing what it is that we're doing successfully. Difficult for me to understand how it is that they can't find a way to figure it out when they don't come and see for themselves what we're doing. When they've had zero conversations with me in any form about how to make it work. Are they really working on our file to try to figure out how to make it work? Because if they were, you would think that they would be contacting me and saying, well, we have a little issue with this, Mr. Magnuson. You don't have proper labeling on all of your edibles. And I would say, I agree. It's an issue for us too. We lack a little bit of resources, and really we're kind of waiting for our licenses, because much of what comes in is in the form of what I showed you earlier, those cookies, John's muffins, the Cookie Monsters cookies. They could be packaged with better labeling. They are, we know that the Cookie Monsters stuff and John's stuff are all pretty standardized dose. They don't deviate very much, although recently the Cookie Monster changed his format a little bit, and we noticed right away, and many customers or clients said the same thing, that they seem to be a little more potent than they were. But sure, proper labeling, standardized dosaging, food safe, all those things are definitely things that we would not only consider, but would absolutely be part of our business model. And those are things that the federal government could rightfully expect that we would do. So why haven't we had any discussion about whether or not we would do that? The answer is clearly that team of people in Health Canada are not working diligently every day on our file to try to figure out how to allow us to do what we are already doing. Clearly, that team is working on how to say no to an application that clearly states, backed up by medical health professionals and years of successful demonstration, that we are rescuing people from death here, that we are saving people's lives, that if we aren't able to continue what we're doing here, the hundreds of people that rely on us will be left searching, many of them ending up back on those other drugs, probably because they're angry at a government that cares so little about them that they've taken away their source of something that works for them. I think that's what their team is working on, and it is very complicated. How do you possibly say no to supporting a group that's demonstrating that they're saving hundreds of lives and hurting no one? How do you say no to that? It is a complicated question. I do understand that it's taking a long, long time for them to figure it out. Because they probably get it, that you're watching our show tonight, that you care about what's going on here, and you're not alone. There's thousands, probably tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people in this one country alone of 35 or 38 million people. There's probably a whole lot of them that are watching what's going on here. More and more families are losing loved ones. They care what's going on here. Medical users across the country, more and more are starting to get the use of cannabis. It's commercial use and sale for medical purposes in the form of CBD and other cannabis remedies are gaining momentum all around the globe. So how do you say no when you have to say no? Because you just can't allow cannabis to be available cheaply to people when you're trying to protect a corrupt industry of greedy corporate assholes who think that they can cash in on legalization, keep the price of cannabis where it was during Prohibition, continue to criminalize the good people who've been pulling all the weight and providing cannabis for people throughout Prohibition, continue to criminalize those people. How can you possibly say no to them? I guess that must be really complicated as well. So here we are. If that's not true, Health Canada, Mr. Trudeau and the federal government, all you people that would have us not provide this service to people, if it's not true that it's all corruption, then please, let's talk about it. Come on out. Let's have a debate. What do you got? Should we do it in court? I think that's where we're going to do it. I think the federal government's going to pull out all that they got, which ain't very much, and they're going to bring it to court in October, and they're going to try to use it to convince a judge that what we're doing here deserves jail time for me and to stop. Let's see what they got. I know what I got. Having described a little bit about the CSP and what's going on, we did, with the city's motion and agreement with them, find a storefront before they decided that we needed a license from Health Canada. So we found a storefront, and we're having a wonderful time in a safe, dignified space for people to come and properly access, like anybody else would access any other commodity in our world. But then needing that license from Health Canada, well, the licensing department, fearing the evil federal corrupt health ministry or Health Canada or whoever it is they're afraid of over there, they're afraid of them, and thus issued the warning. Or maybe they're just protecting the licensed dispensaries in Vancouver that they're gouging for about $40 million or $40,000, each one every year. Maybe it's just that. I don't know what it is. But in any case, the licensing department, on behalf of whoever it is behind all of that with them, threatened us and our landlord, forced us out of the storefront, forced me to buy an RV to continue to provide the service, which by that time for almost 6 months had been right at that location, unable to move back to Vandu, unwilling to bring it back onto the streets with long lineups of people again. Bought an RV, we've been in the RV, I mentioned a little earlier, it was seized at one point, it was firebombed at one point, but we're still here. And 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, my team of people come here into this crazy, violent, very hard to process and deal with neighborhood, and we help these people. We provide access to cannabis, we provide information and advice on how to properly use the edibles. Probably most importantly, we provide an ear for people. They can come here and we'll talk to them. We know their names, most of them that come here. We allow them to tell us the latest horrible thing that's going on in their life, to feel like there's some other human being that'll at least care enough to listen for a minute or two. We do all of that. We have treats for their dogs. We have other treats during the day that come along. People come and bring us things that we can donate to the community, and so we do. Somebody brought me that Green Wilderness, non-infused, huge boxes of pet advent calendars. We gave those out to the pet owners that would come to our RV. We just provide a whole vibe of love right here on the downtown east side. We provide an air of hope for people that are here. Many come to the trailer and say, I heard you guys could maybe help me. I've been on the down for a while. Can I get a free joint? And we say, how about an edible? Sure. And pretty soon we form a relationship with these people. And pretty soon we watch them clean up. And pretty soon now they're just coming to get an edible and a joint every day with a little click in their step and a gleam in their eye. And a big thank you for being here. And as we've been here year after year for over 6 years now, more and more we see the gleams in people's eyes that used to be lost to addiction. And more we get frustrated and upset about a government that doesn't get it, that doesn't want to get it, that wants to get us to stop. to protect corporate money interests. Anyway, that's where we're at. Let's go see the RV.
Oh, it's
Wow. Our weekly weather report in Vancouver.
Put your hood up.
It's nowhere nice like it was last Tuesday at Canada. It's wet. It's cold. There's a trend going on right across Canada that we're feeling some of it here. It was really cold today. It's supposed to start snowing tomorrow. I think there's a little bit of snow maybe that's coming down. Saturday we're supposed to get a 10 whatever it is.
Yeah, centimeters.
10 centimeter. I'm still in inches and feet, you know. I'm old school here. I have a hard time with all of that. So yeah, Saturday we're supposed to get a fair dumping, and it's supposed to last in flurries for the week after that. And then it'll warm up here. It'll all go away. It'll finally be over. Winter's last gasp. That's what's going on. But for right now, a little bit wet and a little bit cold. So I'm really happy to be able to say that this is not just a scene that you would see here in Vancouver. I guess we'll go under the tent.
Here, I got the sign.
We got the sign, you know?
Yeah, we got the sign.
There's signs like this that stretch this country. There's the Cannabis Substitution Program East Coast in Halifax. It happens every Monday. It's been going on for more than 2 years there, helping people with care packs of high-dose edibles. There's the Cannabis Substitution Program that's been running in London, Ontario for a while, but is now on hold. Needs more donators, needs more help, got personal issues going on, and so that those people in London that did have access now don't have access, and I would imagine there's doctors and people being told that, and hopefully we can bring that back real soon. Surrey has now started a cannabis substitution program. Rosie Rurka been doing fine work out there and providing people with food to eat that are down and out, and some cannabis on the side. And now she's officially doing the cannabis substitution program. Has been now providing infused edibles and other things like that. So good on Rosie, good on the people out in Surrey there that are supporting her. A lot of donators help her. She's got good volunteers and people. So that's what's going on there. We'll take a little trip around the back end. If you guys don't want to be on Pot TV, then don't look at the camera. This is a live stream of Pot TV right now.
Hello. Cannabis substitution, is where you get your goods.
There you go.
Just a quick look at the back. This is how we present ourselves to the people that are driving up this very busy street every day. Like I said, we're not trying to hide anything. We never have. Right there is the police station. The building on the other corner that you can't see, that's the courthouse there. We have prosecutors and judges walking by all day, every day, well, the weekdays anyway. We have police officers driving by in their vehicles all day, every day. We've been here, like I say, on this block in the RV for over 2 years, 2 years and about 3 months now. We've been on the block for almost 3 years. Coming up in June, it'll be 3 years that we've been on the block. So we're obviously tolerated, but we really should be supported, and that's the battle that we're under, is to try to get the governments to support us instead of trying to stop us and put me in jail and all the rest that they've not done to support us in the time we've been here, other than, like I say, they tolerate us. If they really wanted to kick us out of here, we'd be surrounded by police every time we set back up again until we didn't do that again. I'm not sure how long that would take, but that is what would go on there. I think it's safe to go this way. Hey, George.
Go ahead, George.
No, you go on in. Well, welcome. Come on in. Yeah. At least it's a little bit warmer in here. Not too much warmer, though. I think that's because George is in charge.
Drier.
You even got the window open for some reason. Is there a good reason for that, sir?
Have a great day, buddy.
That would probably be Dave.
Oh, I see.
Sitting there, he was rolling earlier.
Right. So this is where all the real action happens. This is activism ongoing every day. A team of people that scramble around. It's been pretty busy here lately. there's not a lot of dull moments here anymore because we're of great value to this community and they know it. So even on rainy days like today, as you saw, there's a little mini lineup that was happening out there, and we're pretty busy in here. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Just
Well.
Swell. That's well, swell.
George over there in the corner.
Even put on a cup of tea.
This is Dex, been helping us out for a long time.
Hello,
Dex.
In the recent times, anyway. And of course, everybody knows Adam. He's been on the show a number of times as well. He helps provide edibles to people, and he helps out here a couple times a week. So, you guys having a good day here?
Great, man. Yeah, it's not bad. It was really nice when the sun was out today.
Yeah, no,
It was
rain's
beautiful
there.
earlier.
Yeah, it
today.
was gorgeous.
It was.
Let me see what we got today.
And now we got this going on. I guess we're gonna have this going on for a while.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, this is some sort
They
of
said it
storm.
might be snow tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of snow tonight and quite a bit on Saturday.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Depending on where
I don't know.
you
I
are.
don't listen to those guys.
Probably higher
You know,
elevations.
I wish I could get into a job like that where you can be right
Sometimes.
25% of the time and still be making all kinds of bank.
Hey, brother, you want to go for
Yeah.
the
Meteorologist?
Meteorologist.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
It was a profession you could make a pretty good living betting against for quite
Oh,
a
yeah,
while.
absolutely.
Here in BC, anyway, or not just here in BC, but here in Vancouver.
It could
Because we got
be-
the ocean and the
It
mountains.
can change in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and you can't tell what it's going to do 3 days from now, for the most part. I mean, they can now.
Oh, right.
They do recognize these fronts that come in and hold the high pressure and things like that for periods of time. So there are times when they can tell.
It's
and
an
they-
educated
They're
guess.
better now.
It's an educated
Yeah,
guess.
but fairly well educated. I notice. I pay attention.
Yeah.
Because we got protests and rallies going on, and we're
Yeah,
always
right.
watching to see whether they're right about the weather or not.
Nice.
And so they're a lot better than they used to be. I don't think it would be a viable living anymore, just betting whatever opposite
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say. But they have a hard time a week down the road unless there's some major system that
Got a good deal
is in
today, man.
place
These
here.
are $60.
So
I just got the $3 stuff.
this is what's been going on. This is where we're at.
I got one of them.
We'll continue on here
It's always changing.
for the foreseeable future. Unless anything else strange happens, it looks like we'll be just doing this until October, and then depending on what happens then into November, and then depending on what happens then, well, who knows. Much like our guest today, Pat Warnicki, we would really like to have a store again. We would really like to be able to provide the service the way we were able to provide it from the storefront, as opposed to from the RV. I mean, I don't even know what words to use for it, but it's just not right that people that want to just access something for their own betterment can't walk into a store like for anything else that you would want to get, including alcohol and cigarettes. It ain't even really for your betterment, although I'm not saying that alcohol can't be used for people's betterment. I know that it can. But cigarettes, I'm not so sure. A few percentage of the people that use cigarettes are using it to any actual real benefit for themselves, but some are. Whatever, not the point. The point is, why does everybody else get a store and the people that want to use cannabis don't get a store? Why is it that if you want to buy cannabis, you have to go to a special store? But if you want to buy alcohol, you can go into restaurants and bars and nightclubs and grocery stores and, all over the place. Why is it that if you want to get commercial tobacco, which has, like I said, very little redeeming societal value anymore, it's recognized for how dangerous and harmful it is, and that it doesn't have much value to people other than they get addicted to it, and it's really hard to stop using it, much like the other drugs we've been talking about.
Amen.
Why is it that those people not only get a store that they can walk into, but you can purchase that stuff in all kinds of different places? They make sure it's available easily everywhere. Gas stations. 4 gas stations on a corner, they can all be selling cigarettes to people. The reason is corruption. The reason is corporate greed and unethical influence and criminal influence in our society. And all of this has corrupted what it really means to live in a free country, to really be free, to really actually feel safe around police who you're paying to protect you, to really feel like you can trust the politicians that are elected into office, that they're going to be working for you, and that their job, and they know it, is to protect your individual freedom. We deserve a world like that. We don't have it here. We don't have it, I don't think, anywhere. But it deserves to exist. It needs to exist. We need to continue to fight for it. We can never get it. We can never get limited, accountable, transparent public servants protecting the rights of individual free people if we can't even legalize cannabis for the poor people and the sick people. As long as there's ridiculous, unjustified restrictions on accessing nature's most valuable plant to human beings, then we human beings are not free. So, in the fight for overall freedom, let's win this one first. Because if we don't, we can't ever get it at all. Because without a question, the lack of freedom to be able to properly and reasonably access a plant that grows in nature, that benefits human beings, and especially in times when benefit is needed, if that is not easily and readily available and easy to access, then we are not free. And we never will be until it is. So please do what you can. Join the fight. Let's have a great 420 this year wherever you are. And remember, it's always 420 somewhere. But let's just join and share in the energy of doing the right thing, of making this a better world for the generations to come. Let's get weed legalized for everybody, because everybody deserves good weed. Do what you can. I'm not going to go through the list. You all know it, and there's things you know I don't know. Whatever it is you think you can do, now would be the time. We need to continue to push this until they stop the corporate takeover, the hostile takeover of the cannabis industry, before they're able to get us to settle and maintain artificially high prices that exclude the people that need it the most and leave the sick under the bus. We need to do this. I'm counting on you to help us. So that's pretty much it for now. We'll update you again next week on what's going on, if there's any new developments, and bring you up to speed even more with what's going on with 420, with Mercules, and the world's record-sized joint, and the world's greatest hot box, and all the rest of the great stuff that's going to be going on here in Vancouver at Thornton Park. And thank you for watching. I wish you all the best. I hope that life treats you very, very well. I hope that you treat the others in your life very well. And those that you like the least are probably the ones that need it the most. And look after yourself first. Make sure that you're doing the right things for yourself. Get the sleep that you need, get the nutrition that you need. But most of all, the most important thing, have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.